Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in these days, I've been playing around with the ROG Xbox Ally X, and I have to say that it honestly exceeded my expectations and truly blown me away. Like, the reason I'm saying this is because the temperatures for me have been quite good. Like, compared to the original Ally, it's also quieter, like fans are very quiet, and I'm truly amazed by this device. They have done quite many stuff to make sure that it truly lives up to the hype. Like, if you think about it, they did most of the mods that we used to do in the previous models applied out of the box, like higher RAM capacity, higher storage out of the box, 1 TB, bigger battery. The only thing, in my opinion, that it misses is like the whole effect sticks. Like, that's a mod that people are usually still doing. Maybe later on we'll do it. But otherwise, for the rest of stuff, they did a lot of things that are like used to be mods. Now they are out of the box for everyone. So that's actually quite nice. And in this video, I just want to share with you some of the best heat sinks that you can apply on your SSD drive. I have 3 heat sinks that I would like to try. Those ones, I actually never opened this one as well as this one. But for those, I actually tried it. I tried them before, and yeah, they are pretty reliable also. So yesterday I was just opening it for the first time to check out the internals. Now, first of all, I have to say that in case you have like a small foam, to put it on the screen in order to elevate a little bit the device, because this way you avoid having those sticks like wobble around as you put it on the desk, you know. So just a small like extra protection for the thumb sticks. So first of all, I just go ahead and remove the screws. So pretty simple stuff. Now I have to say also that compared to the previous models, it seems a little bit more like tight inside. That's what I noticed, because they made the battery bigger, so it takes a little bit more space, in my opinion. Like, I noticed some struggling going on when trying to move around, like do stuff inside. Like, compared to the Legion Go or previous Allies, it's a little bit like tighter. But still, it's actually amazing. Wait, this one. So the middle one, you don't remove. It's stuck in place, but just unscrew it. Okay, for the rest, they are all removed, actually. Okay, also make sure that on the bottom, you remove those 3 screws as well, small ones, actually. They are a new addition compared to the previous Allies, you know. So make sure you put them in a place and don't lose them, because they are pretty small. So just be careful. So if you have like a pry tool, it will be useful to remove the cover once you remove the screws. It's also quite important, in my opinion. It will be hard like to take it off without a pry tool. Okay, so just like gently pass it through. Okay, so from here it's good. Be patient and do it carefully in order not to break any plastic piece. Okay, now from here it's open. Okay, now from the side we are almost done, and carefully lift off, because there is a ribbon cable here. So I don't need to remove it, because it's actually long enough. So you can just like put the back cover away and still do your work, as long as you don't pull it off. So Like this, we are all good, I guess. Now, something that I really like about it, that fans are very small. And this has allowed them to make the battery bigger and add a 2280 SSD drive. I need to say that the battery cable is actually pretty tricky to remove. So you will need to have this pry tool. Some people I saw online would like pull this black black label. You see like this black pull, like they pull it from here, but it's actually pretty difficult to do it, like to get your fingers inside there. For me, it's a little bit difficult. So I found another way that using a pry tool, you can slide it below it, and like with a little bit of force, it will be off, you know? But for now, I don't really need to remove the battery cable, because for this mode, I don't see it necessary to be removed, honestly. Now, I want to show you something actually. I'm not sure if everyone has the same SSD drive model, but for me, mine is actually by Samsung. So it's a Gen 4 SSD drive. Yeah, and it actually comes with this black sheet. It's like a sheet, a cooling sheet. It's not really a heatsink, but I would like to try different things. First, I'll just remove this cooling sheet that it comes with it and try benchmarking it to see how much it could actually contribute to cooling. So I did first a benchmark with it on. Now I remove it, do a benchmark again, then check with our heat sinks, okay? So I'll just go ahead and remove it. Okay, so you see it's actually a sheet. You know, it actually looks pretty good. Like it has some layers of like a graphene, or I'm not sure what is this material, but it looks like a cooling sheet, you know. It has some cooling materials, probably. It has like two layers here. You see this black one that you see, but on the inside you see this gray one, and in the middle there is this white one. So it actually has some interesting inside. So it's more than one layer, you know. From the inside it's two, actually three. So you see this one, black one, gray one, and at the middle you see this white one. So I'll just put it aside and probably store it. Maybe in the future I could use it. So I'll just put it away somewhere safe. And you can see the SSD drive that I have here. It's actually this model. Interesting looking one. Like it has only memory chip here. You see just one here. And here is the controller and stuff like this. But you see like here, there is a slot for another memory chip. There is like an empty slot. You see, like I can see here from PowerPoints, you see. I'm not sure if someone could mod it and it would actually become 2 terabyte. But this one is 1 terabyte, you know. So it has actually an interesting design. And actually on the second side, there is nothing. So there are no memory chips. You see here, like from the bottom, you see the layout for the PCB of it. Like the second slot is actually connected. As far as I see, there are routes for it. Pretty interesting thing that there is a slot for a second one. Okay, so I just benchmark it without anything now. I'll close the Ally. So an important thing to know that after you open it, it wouldn't be turned on unless you connect it to power. So now if I tried to turn it on, it wouldn't actually be turned on. So I'll need to connect it to power, then turn it on. That's actually how it goes. Before we get into testing, I would like to share the model of the SSD I have in my Ally. So as I said, it's by Samsung, and here is the full model number. Interestingly, we can also see, based on its specs, its minimum temp to operate is 30 degrees, while the max is 84. So basically saying it should never really go above 80 for the safety of the drive over the long course. Also here, if we check the Ally board chipset, the NVMe controller can only support Gen 4 drives. So while using a Gen 5 SSD would still work, it won't reach speeds beyond the Gen 4 specs anyway, which is around 8000 megabytes per second for read. On top of that, Gen 5 drives run significantly hotter, so it's actually wiser of them to have used a Gen 4 controller. And that is already more than perfect enough for any kind of a gaming device. If you are curious to check your drive data, same as I'm showing here, you can do it using IDA64 Extreme software, which has a free 30 days trial. And by the way, for this testing setup, I have my ROG Xbox Ally X power setting set to 35 watt, plugged in with max fan speed to give the various setups the best airflow conditions possible. So here we have it running Crystal Disk Mark for stress testing the drive to see temp difference. When we have the default black sheet sticker like the heat spreader installed versus removed. Of course, speed-wise, I didn't notice any change at all. This SSD drive that ships with it seems to have a maximum read speed at 5000 megabytes per second with right around 4200 megabytes per second, as I can see here. But for temperature, you can see the difference. We actually have two drive temp sensors, usually one reserved for the controller and the second for the NAND memory. So basically the hotter spot of the drive. On the default setup, the maximum temperature we got is 54 for drive temp 1 and 65 for temp 2, while without the black sheet, 55 for drive 1 and 66 for temp 2. So we can see that the difference is pretty much non-existent, like a 1 degree difference on both sensors when we have the sheet removed. It's hardly any difference, to be honest. Also running a real-world gaming scenario, we can also see that it's around the same. Like if we keep it for long enough, they eventually land at around the same temp for both sensors. So I guess that the heat spreader sheet isn't doing that significant difference as much as one might think. Okay, so we have seen that the difference is actually pretty negligible if we have that black sheet removed off the SSD. So perhaps at a higher SSD drive speed, it will bring a little bit more difference, like a little bit temperature reduction. But at this SSD drive that we have here pre-installed on the ROG Xbox Ally X is actually pretty negligible. So I didn't see really a big difference when I removed it. As we have seen, like the temperatures are pretty much the same, which is actually pretty interesting. I expected to see difference in temperatures for sure, but it's actually the same. So as I said before, we have our own copper heatsinks to try on. So we have this slim one, you know, the one that we are all familiar with, that we also used on the ROG Ally, like the slim one. We have those ones, which are also copper heatsink, and we have actually this style, you know, like two pieces. We'll try this at the end. First, we'll try this one. I'm actually pretty interested to see this one. So actually, those ones come with thermal pads, 3 different ones. Like this one is the slimmest. I believe it's 0.1. This one 0.5. This one is 1 millimeter thickness. So we have 3 sizes, but as you see, they have been used. That's why I don't want to use them. I actually have a different set. This one is 0.2. We have the pink ones at 0.4. We have the orange one at 1 millimeter. So these ones are 1 millimeter, the orange. And finally, the green are 1.5. So I'll try those ones. This pack has 3 heat sinks. So we have 3 different sizes. This one is actually 0.8 millimeter. This one is 1 millimeter thickness, and we have this one, which is 2 millimeter thickness. So I'm curious to try the thickest thermal pad 1.5 millimeter along with the thickest heatsink, which is 2. So together they should be 3.5. So hopefully they can fit in. I can actually see some space, so hopefully they can fit in just fine. So first of all, I'll just go ahead and remove the SSD because we'll need to do it while it's actually removed. So first I'll apply the thermal pad and apply only one here, okay, on the memory chip, along with another one on the controller. You know, we can have cooling on both sides, you know. Okay, so I placed them. Okay. So that's the kind of setup, and I'll have, you can see they are making good contact. Okay, so contact is actually being made with the memory chip and the controller. Okay, so it comes with those rubber bands. Okay, so I'll put the rubber band in 2 places actually, so it can make the best contact on the top part and another one at the bottom. Okay, so we have contact on the most crucial places. Okay, something like this, like on 2 places is actually pretty good. This way we don't bend the SSD drive from the middle, you know. It's better to leave just top and bottom because here we have the pressure. Okay, so let's try to install it. Hopefully it can still be installed. Okay, so it has been installed actually. Let's see. I can still see some space, so I'm honestly hopeful it's gonna work. Yeah, actually you can still close the back cover with it, so no problem at all with the clearance. Let me show you. So you see, it's actually perfect. You can still close it, so that's actually good that we managed to put like 3.5. The heatsink is 2 millimeter thickness and the thermal pads are actually 1.5. So actually pretty good setup, I would say. Hopefully it's gonna reduce the temperature a little bit more. Let's try it now, and then we'll try this one, the slim one, and this 2 pieces style. Let's see which one is the best. All right, and here we are with the thick copper heatsink. Again, speed-wise, it's the same on a Crystal Disk Mark, but temps have been reduced quite well. Let's see how. While on Drive Sensor 1, the difference is around 1 degree lower, but the second Drive Temp sensor reports a much lower temp by around 7 degrees Celsius. Like before, we saw quite the deviation between a Drive Temp 1 and the Drive Temp 2. While now, thanks to this heatsink, we see Drive Temp 2, which I believe is the NAND memory, much lower and closer to Drive Temp 1, which seems to be the controller. So it's actually a very welcome reduction, and good that both drive sensors are closer than ever, reaching a very similar temperature, especially on the hotter part. Also in gaming, I see the same trend. A lower temperature on a Drive Sensor 2 at 56 versus 62 before when we had no heatsink even with the pre-installed heat spreader sheet. So this heatsink has led to around 6 to 7 degree difference here. Alright, so we have seen the difference with this thick one, which has heatsink is a 2mm thickness and the thermal pads are 1.5. So you see actually there's a pretty good clearance when it comes to SSD heatsinks. Like you can play around quite well with it. Like it can support really quite many options when it comes to SSD drive heatsink. In my opinion, like compared to previous allies, there is a great chance that even quite thick heatsink is gonna fit. Like if I show you, even with this one, you can see there is a little bit of extra clearance. Like you see, it's not even reaching the fans. Like you see, when it comes to height, there is actually some space left. Now I'm gonna try the rest of them so we can see if we have, like, to see the difference. It was actually pretty impressive with this one. I must say that it was actually pretty impressive. It's a little bit more tight, but still can be quite accessible. So you see the thermal pads are actually in making very great contact, like with the rest of it. Like you see the thermal pads are making awesome contact with the heatsink and they are working pretty well. So actually this one was pretty impressive. Okay, so I remove the heatsink. I remove, you see actually the thermal pads are actually stuck on the heatsink. So that's actually a good sign. So I'll try the slim one. Honestly, I don't really see why you would want to use this one when you have clearance for a thicker one, to be honest. Like maybe for the Ally, it used to be needed, like for the original Ally or other ones, but this one has great clearance. That's why you will benefit more of using a thick one. So this heatsink also comes with thermal pads. So you see it comes with this, I believe 1mm, as well as this one 0.5 or something like that. To make it fair and square, I'm gonna use the same thermal pads, those ones, like the green ones. This way we have to give them equal chance. Okay, so I'll put again a thermal pad here and again another one here on the controller. Okay, so we have 2 thermal pads in place. Okay, so you see we have this 1.5mm thermal pad. So I'm gonna put now the heatsink. Okay, this one also comes with a screw, so you don't need a rubber band. That's actually a good thing about it, that it can actually be in place. Like it looks better when it comes to looking. With this thermal pad, to be honest, it's not gonna work because it's gonna add extra height and it's not really optimized for it. So that's why it's better to use its included thermal pads. I believe it's gonna be the best option. Like this, it could be good, but if you want to make the best fit for it, you're gonna use its own included thermal pad. So I'm gonna use the thicker one, which is this one. This one is thinner. Let's put the thermal pads now. So I'll put one here and another one here. Okay, something like this. And we'll put on the heatsink. You see, like this, it's more optimized for this one. Like you see, it's making better contact also. That's why for this one, it's better to use its own included thermal pads, you know. for maximum compatibility. And we also have included this screw. Don't use the original one because this one I believe is longer. That's why it's better to use its own included one because it's actually longer. Okay, so now it's in place, as you can see. Okay, so we are all good now. You can imagine that you can close it easily with this one. So I'm just gonna close it and try on now benchmarking. Also again here, crystal disk mark speeds are unaffected with the slim heatsink, but we get the following temps: 57 on sensor 1 and 61 on sensor 2. So the difference between the thin heatsink against the thick one is around 2 to 3 degrees on both sensors, as you can see. But that's only the case in synthetic benchmarks. But compared to the default setup, we also see a difference of 3 degrees. So to sum it up, the thin heatsink seems to come around the middle between no heatsink versus the thick one we tried before. But honestly, in real-world gaming, I didn't see any difference in a casual gaming session. Temps are just as low as with the thick heatsink and much better than default, of course. So the thin heatsink is actually a good option that performs well in a compact size and gives you nearly the same benefit as in installing the thick one. Finally, we have reached the final heatsink. Honestly, this one was actually pretty decent, I must say. Like, I didn't expect such a slim heatsink to perform this well, to be honest. Like, just being super honest, like if you have access only to this heatsink, I would say you are gold. Like, it's really perfect. Okay, so also it's very easy to install and remove, and you see, like, honestly, this one, you can never go wrong with this slim heatsink. Never. Like, with any device I've tried it on, like at any size, this heatsink style is always seems to be performing pretty decently. At the end of the day, it doesn't really have to be a very thick heatsink, to be honest. Like, just a minimal copper heatsink with just thermal pad is gonna do you pretty well. Now let's remove it. Contact was perfect. Okay, so let's put it aside. Okay, now we are all good. Let's try finally this double-sided sandwich heatsink style, like, you know, the double-sided one. I've never used this style before, like for this heatsink, so it's gonna be the first time. I'm not sure if it comes also with some thermal pads, so we're gonna see. Okay. Okay, so you see, it actually comes with a screw. Okay, yeah, it actually comes also with thermal pads. That's actually good. It comes with 2 of them since it's double-sided. So yeah, it seems like that one, the slim one, but upgraded version, I would say. Like, this one has a top part, but has a bottom one, and it seems to have a better, you know, like better enclosure style. So that's actually a pro about this one. I believe this one is gonna do pretty well. So here is the thermal pad. I believe it's around 1 millimeter thickness. Comes with this film on this side. So I'll remove this and put it on the top first. So make sure it's covering all place. Okay, so something like this. Place it a little bit. Now remove the top film. Okay, you see now it's in place. Now we also have this place we can put the second one, but you know, like there is no memory here. We'll still put it since it came with it. Some extra thermal pad wouldn't hurt. Okay, So we have on double sides. Now we'll put this piece here. You see, make sure you put it on the screw hole area. Okay, click a little bit so it can actually get in place. So you see it has those like side pieces that help you to make sure that it's actually making perfect contact. We have the bottom one now. So I'll put the bottom one. You see it should look like this. So you see, okay, so you can actually hear a click. You see like this. I believe it's a perfect setup. Like you have two pieces and they make perfect contact with each other. Like they are both copper, and at the end you install the screw. So yeah, pretty nice looking heatsink in my opinion. Pretty compact, but yet perfectly done, to be honest. Like this seems like an upgrade over this one. By the way, I'll include links for all of them in the description of this video, so you can find all those heat sinks and thermal pads and everything I'm using in this video. Okay, so make sure that the screw hole is seen like on the SSD as well as the heatsink. Okay, so now let's install it in place. Okay, so it's in place. Let's use its included screw. Perfect. Let's now close it, and of course it can be closed, so there are no issues at all with this one. You can see there is still so much space left, and you see you can still close it without any issue at all. No issue at all. So now I'll just benchmark it, and yeah, let's see how it's gonna perform. With a double-sided copper heatsink running Crystal Disk Mark test, we got the best temps so far. During test, it maxed out at 51 on sensor 1 and 53 on sensor 2. That's the closest ever we got them both, and also the lowest. You can see the difference yourself. Like this is crazy cooler on the hotter sensor we got first. So we managed to bring it down quite well, and actually this result makes me quite satisfied. Even in real world gaming, also down by 10 degrees on Temp 2 sensor, the hotter one, than the default configuration. So guys, in conclusion, I must say that SSD drive temps by default are already quite good on the ROG Xbox Ally X without any kind of mod, at least on the shipped SSD drive that comes with it. But adding a heatsink could yield around a hefty 12-degree difference in the best case scenario. And I also noticed that with heatsinks, the drive temp goes significantly lower when it's slightly loaded or idle. So it actually helps in dissipating heat, which is awesome and could even reduce surrounding component temps like the APU, battery, and the whole device temps generally. So finally, I hope this video was useful for you. Let me know down in the comments your current ROG Xbox Ally X SSD setup and cooling for it if you have. And by the way, as I said before, if you are interested in buying any of those heatsinks, I leave links for all of them in this video description. And if you have any kind of questions, please don't hesitate to write them below. And finally, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on what's to come next. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.